What is up, everybody? Here we are on the evening of Thursday, April something. What even is time anymore? April 29th. And we are going to be talking about some awesome, legendary stuff that is out of proportion and, shall we say, explosive? But the cool thing about it being April 29th is the fact that we're just a few days away from a big holiday for us as Star Wars fans. Freddy, you got any big May the 4th plans?
Let's see. I've been a little dry on Thraken's thrift store, so let's hope that I can settle that drought.
It's like, you're submitting your religious holidays at the workplace. You let them know, hey, I'm going to need Christmas off, Good Friday, I don't want to work Easter Sunday. Also, May the 4th, kind of a big one for me. May the 4th, a religious holiday. Don't ask me questions. Just give me the day off. Be celebrating my Star Wars fandom. Oh man, that's awesome. I think we've got some kind of a Utini party of some sort going on in with Utini. I don't know exactly what's happening involving the Bad Batch. They keep us Legends guys over here on our weird little island, and we don't always catch all the news. I think we're going to be doing some kind of watch party. Is that right, Meg? We got a watch party for Bad Batch. Bad Batch comes out next week, right?
Yeah, it does. We have a watch party at some time in the evening.
Okay, yeah, we're doing great with this.
You will see it. All the details. We will let you know. Yep.
Oh my goodness, that's
Exciting.
awesome. I love that Cheryl in the chat says she legit took May the 4th off and cited it as a religious holiday. That is so perfect. You are absolutely among your people here as we are preparing for May the 4th. Now, Freddie, as it's like a long time now. I'm not calling you old, Freddie. All right. You're looking great in your tank over there in sunny California. What a contrast we've got going on between something just fell. Well, contrast between Massachusetts and California here, with the fact that you're in your tank and I'm in my hoodie. But for some like old school Star Wars fans, May the 4th is a relatively new. I mean, obviously it's been on the calendar for ages, but it's a relatively new Star Wars holiday, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. I don't know when exactly it started. I want to say it was pre-Disney. It was almost like a Clone Wars kind of invention, trying to get people to Star Wars Read Day and all this stuff, trying to get people involved.
Okay.
And of course, there were,
Nothing wrong with
there was a lot of people that were against having it on May 4th because, I mean, May 4th, what really is May 4th? There's no Star Wars. Star Wars was in May, but not the 4th. I think
Right.
it was,
Right.
what is
Yeah.
it, the 20?
It's all about the pun.
Yeah.
As a dad who loves a good pun, I appreciate the fact that our main holiday in our fandom is centered around a stupid play on words.
Yeah.
May
I'm cool
25th,
with it.
I think, is like the real Star Wars Day.
Yeah,
if you
there you
want to
go.
celebrate like the release of the original film. But even then, I think it only released in some theaters. It didn't maybe get out a little bit more widespread for another week or two. Hey, in ministry, we've got this like kind of eye rolly thing that people say every Easter, which is like, we celebrate the resurrection every Sunday. And I'm always like, yes, great. Absolutely. We do. Totally.
Yep.
But this day is still a little bit more special. Like the whole world is celebrating this one.
Yeah.
So for me as a Star Wars fan, here's our secret. Like in the Avengers, the Hulk secret is he's always angry, right? Here's my secret. It's always Star Wars Day on Legends Lookback. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say that every day is Star Wars Day here at Legends Lookback.
Oh my goodness. So it's so great to have people to celebrate with. It's always fun having my like casual Star Wars fan friends text me happy Star Wars Day, and they'll send me that goofy meme of Yoda dancing. I freaking hate that meme. But you know what? If it means that people are paying attention to the galaxy far, far away, maybe they'll buy me something. All right, that's what I'm asking for. If you're a friend of mine watching this, May the 4th is coming up. There's some good sales. Hey, actually, we are going to be buying you something on this episode of Legends Look Back. If you are interested, we are going to be doing a little giveaway here toward the end of the show. You got to be live with us in the chat. If you enter the keyword I had a keyword picked out earlier today. Just the keyword legends. Just type the word legends on its own. We'll see it in the chat. We're going to enter it in to our giveaway system. And by that, I mean, I think I'm going to write on a Post-it note, right? And we're going to stick them in my Yoda mug after I finish my cider. We're going to draw a name out of Yoda's hat here at the end of the episode. And we will gift you a digital Legends Omnibus. Got this idea from Jacob. The Spice Den did this yesterday on the Cosmic Force, and we're going to get in on this action too. If you are with us in the chat, want a chance at winning hundreds of pages of Legends comics digitally delivered right to your devices. Hey, just type the word Legends in the chat, and we'll get these input for the end of the show. But before we get there, let's start the show. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. That's fun to say. That's new. We are a Star Wars books podcast for people who love Captain Planet even when it's not Earth Day, where we talk about all things Legends, celebrating our rich EU history as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I am joined by my brother from another cloning tank, Freddy C. What's up, Freddy?
I'm doing great, man. Wearing my tank top, a nice warm day. I see you're wearing your hoodie.
I'm getting sweaty, though.
For sure.
I admit, it is getting toasty here under these lights. Glad to have you with us. Also with us this week, the #1 Bo-Katan collector in Illinois, probably, Meg Dowell.
Hello. Being right in the middle of both of you in the Midwest.
Yeah.
The weather can't decide what it's going to be. So like last week it snowed. Yesterday it was like 80 and today it's like in the 50s. So you know what? We're just going with it at this point. It's fine.
That's right. It's like you pick up a Legends book. It's like, hey, whatever is going to happen, I'm just going to roll with it. Does it make sense? Not always. Is it enjoyable anyway? Absolutely.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. Well, we like to start off the show by showing off new items in our collection. I've got a few new ones this week. I would like to see if...
Legends, it finds its way in things and
hey,
places.
Legends, ever heard of it?
Just from the words of Abraham Lincoln, I love Legends.
You never... You what is the Michael Scott quote? You miss 100% of the shots. You don't take Wayne Gretzky. I don't know. He's like... That's how that felt to me. Oh, man. Yeah. It's so cool. You know, especially, I'm going to say something that is mentioned on page 12. All right. So this is not spoilery. If you consider a spoiler any detail from a book you haven't read, all right, then it would be. But I consider spoilers big plot points, big reveals, major twists, character deaths, things like that. On page 12, we get a little reference to the Vagari, who are the pirate villains. Are they villains? We'll talk about it next week from Outbound Flight. So we've got this Legends reference reincorporated. What was especially fun was our friend Cheryl in the Discord. I was like trying to do another podcast actually a couple nights ago. She like excitedly messages me and says, Outbound Flight is canon. Well, was she flailing her arms? I don't know. It was over Discord, but it was so excited to get to share in that Legends news. Is it Legends news? Yeah, I think we can call it Legends news. How about you, Freddy? You got anything to show off?
No, but the quote is, "There's always a bit of truth in Legends." That's what I was going for.
There you go.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's great.
Yeah, I got this little thing. I'm not sure it's not Star Wars related, but it is something from, I can't tell, the 2000s. Little chevron car named Freddy Four-Wheeler right there.
What? I've never heard of that Star Wars book.
Yeah, I've been on a hiatus of Legends purchasing, of course, after my little sideshow. Where is it? There it is, right there.
Yeah. You got to slow your spinning roll, I'm sure.
Whoop. Yeah, so that took a big chunk out. But you know, with May the 4th around the corner, I'm thinking that drought's gonna end.
Yeah, yeah. I famously said last week, it might have been live on the air, it might have been behind the scenes, that like I'm not gonna buy any more Star Wars stuff for a month. I'm just gonna give myself a month. No, famous last words. I did. I bought more stuff. It happened.
No.
But I did stop myself from buying other Star Wars things I thought about. Specifically, excited to share in some of this big Legends comic sale, which we're going to talk about more in just a second. But first, Meg, do you have any new acquisitions to show off?
Aw.
I've got more if I've got to. If I need to show off more, I will.
Actually, I do. Since you, here, hold on. I'm getting it. Oh my god, it's heavy. So, wait, where am I? There I am. I'm here. In addition to the new Thrawn book that we got, now my dog is interested. We also got this book, Art of Galaxy's Edge. I couldn't remember what it was.
Oh,
look
gorgeous.
at it. It's huge.
Yeah, it's shiny.
Well, yes, it's shiny and it's huge and it's pretty, and I can't wait to read it and look through it, and yeah. So just as always, Star Wars books they never stop. I'm not mad about it.
There's actually been quite a few books that were released like this week, and then even more come out next week. The Star Wars Insider, what do we call this thing? The infamous book that's been delayed multiple times, but I have actually seen pictures on Twitter of people holding this thing. The Insider Fiction Epic. No, hold on, I can do this. The Ultimate Star Wars. All right, last time. The Insider Fiction Collection, right? It's got the short stories from Star Wars Insider. There's already a second one announced. The first one, however, has gotten delayed so much that I'm like, it's going to even be out before the second one. Anyway, it's supposed to be out on May 4th. I'm really excited to read it. Once we get it, have some time to read it, we're going to talk about it here on the show. Couldn't be more excited for that. I'm going to show it off, just like I'm going to show off these couple more comics I got in the mail. It was actually forgot I ordered these. Was excited when they came in. I've got the Jan Duursema variant on. What is this? High Republic number 4. It's gorgeous. I love it. That might be my last variant I buy. I'm trying to slow my roll on these, but I do love Jan Duursema and Legends. What do we call her? She's a Legends legend, isn't she? And then this is, I think, my favorite High Republic variant cover so far. This Mark Amro, signed by, can you see the signature down there? By Mike Mayhew himself.
Wow.
Very proud of that. I like to collect the creator signatures. And one other thing I got on my recent thrift story tour, the magical thrift story tour, in fact, is what I called it, as we went to different thrift stores and used bookstores looking for Star Wars books. I got this pristine copy of Karen Travis's Clone Wars novelization, which is one of the few books, Star Wars books I haven't read. It was like, I just watched the show instead. It was like, yeah, I'll get to that eventually, but I know what happens. Karen Travis, though, love her writing. Can't wait to read it. You ever read this one, Freddie? It's kind of an obscure one. I think a lot of people snoozed on it because it's the novelization.
I snoozed on it, not on purpose, but I haven't read that one yet, which is great. There's still some Legends books I haven't read.
That's right. You got to keep some in the back pocket. And quite literally, it's kind of thin, like it would fit in a back pocket, especially if you're wearing those 90s cargo pants. Like
Jinko
like
jeans
to wear on Legends Lookback. Also here for our Thraken's thrift store segment. Let us know, you got any new Star Wars acquisitions? We'd love to hear about them. Cheryl in the chat says that she just got that Star Wars Icons Han Solo book, that $50 one that I got off the top shelf. that crazy Ollie's adventure that I had. Excited that Cheryl was able to get her hands on that too. Absolutely gorgeous book. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, Freddie, what is up in the world of Legends news? It's time for Legends Lookout, our newly named segment here. Yeah. Oh, look at that lookout you just did. Thanks to our buddy Eric for coming up with that name.
There's
coming down the pipeline.
So, I mean, there's a few things going on that I found out about, but we've got let's see, 6 out of 8 of the adult novels on the release schedule page on Utini are Legends books at the moment.
Isn't that crazy? And most of these are, of course, like the re-releases. What are we calling these? The epic. Oh, I keep botching this name. The Star Wars Essential Legends collections. I think that's it. So we got Shatterpoint and Heir to the Empire. So a bunch of those are on the adult books release schedule page, which I was going through the other day to try to find out what day that Insider Fiction collection comes out. I was like, I think it's supposed to be here soon. And it was just like Legends, 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 High Republic, Legends, Legends. And I was just like, where's my show notes? This is going on the show. That's a lot of Legends. It's a good time
That's
to be a
amazing.
Legends
6
fan.
out of 8.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow.
And another fun thing in the world of Legends, of course, is the fact that this past week we just celebrated or mourned, depending on your point of view, of course, the fact that it has now been 7 years since that fateful day in April of 2014 when the Legends Canon's declaration happened. The Declaration of Independence from canon is what I like to call it. Independent from our Disney overlords. No, as we said here earlier in the chat, we stand both. Yeah, I've actually read every single canon adult book at this point, and some of the junior readers too. It's one of those things where as they came out, I just read them one at a time. It's not like I ever intended to be a completionist on this, as much as like I just like Star Wars books and I read them when they come out.
Yeah, mine comes from I haven't read as many canon books, which is cool because that means there's a lot more Star Wars I haven't read. But from my point of view, it's just I like collecting the amount of knowledge and just knowing a lot about Star Wars, even the most inane things. And there's no way to get that without reading. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Do you remember what you were doing when you found out that, like, the EU had been, I don't want to say sidelined, but for lack of a better word, yeeted over into left field?
Let's see. This is hard. 7 years ago, you know what? I know exactly what I was doing. I was playing Star Wars Galaxies with my buddies on our private server, and we were trying to talk about what's going to happen with Star Wars. What's next? I was so afraid that they were just going to get rid of the EU, and I didn't. But at the same time, there's such a market with Star Wars books, so it's hard to even think that they would get rid of that, right? Like, why would you do that? So I was pretty excited because I was curious to see what was going to come next, how they were going to restart it. And if you know anything about Legends, there's a whole thing with the craziness of Legends, right? And it's it wouldn't hurt to start fresh in some cases.
Yeah, that's actually my opinion on it. I appreciated that it was actually a closed canon at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Canon just means like a unit of measurement, right? So like it is a closed story for the most part. We actually just got a new short story from the Old Republic universe like last week. Just read it a couple days ago. It was great. I loved it. It was like that renegade Jedi fighting against Darth Malgus in the ruins of Dantooine. I mean, it was great. It's like very Legends stuff. So, but for the most part, like it is closed. Like that story, you can read the whole thing in its entirety. And you don't have to keep up with everything, which I actually considered a good thing. I know that just the other day, standing in line at the used bookstore, there's a guy who was like, I used to read Star Wars books until they ruined it. And I was like, actually, I don't feel that way. And here's a good one to pick up. The dude just, spent $3 right there and bought one of the Bounty Hunter Wars books. Because he's like, I like Mandalorian. And so we can merge the galaxies. All right. We can get along. We can stand hand in hand, especially if those hands are full of Legends books. Am I right?
Then Jared yeeted him right out the store.
That's right. I yeeted my bank account is what I did on all these amazing books they had. Freddy, what's going on in the world of Star Wars Galaxies?
Well, okay. So we all know that there's a lot of different private servers for Star Wars Galaxies, and there's a new one coming out, which is actually pretty interesting to me. It's called Restoration 3, and their website is restoration-gaming.com, I believe. And they're bringing back a lot of I'm going to talk Star Wars talk right now. So Star Wars Galaxies talk. There's different genres. They had combat upgrade, pre-combat upgrade. There was like a new game enhancement. There's different phases, right?
Freddie knows way more about this than I realized.
Yeah, I do. So the pre-CU is when I started playing, which is the very beginnings of the game, the very first concepts. Well, these guys are taking the combat upgrade, which they call the CU. They're taking the best parts of that with the best parts of some of the NGE, some of the content that came from there, the planets, the good stuff, right? And they're just merging it in instead of
juicy
trying to keep
bits.
Exactly. They're taking the juicy bits from all the places and putting it into one game, which is perfect. I mean, I liked a lot of that older stuff, and the mechanics were different, but I'm excited to see what they're doing. They've already got 700 people signed up in the beta.
Wow. Hey, that's great. Are you one of them?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. What a surprise. Oh, what a surprise. That's like, I'm interested, but I've been trying to play the Old Republic for a year or two now, and it's still going, still slowly but surely. It's a dense game, so I can't imagine that I will get through that in time to jump on board with that. But hey, if you're into galaxies like Freddy, congratulations. It's exciting to have some new content coming down the pipe. And one final thing in the world of Legends news, we've got a huge Legends comic sale happening on Comixology. Talked about it a little bit earlier in the episode. That is over there on Amazon in their Kindle store or in Comixology, because like the Empire, they own both Kindle and Comixology. You can, in fact, and here's the coolest news. I love that Emma shared this with me the other day. You can read all of Dark Empire for 99 cents.
That's
there's
amazing.
no better deal in the galaxy. I actually went ahead. I've been subscribing to Comixology Unlimited for a long time, but instead of having that monthly payment to the man, I went ahead and bought all the Legends comics outright on this sale. That way, like, I owned them, and I could cancel that monthly payment so that like there's, we're not going to have random funds drafting out of my bank account. And now anytime I want to read them, they're there. I don't have to worry about, did I pay my Comixology? They're there, And so in particular, I'm thinking about reading Crimson Empire next. I've listened to the audio drama of it, but have never actually read the comic of it. You ever read Crimson Empire, Freddy?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm looking at this sale. I can't believe it. $14.99 now 99 cents. Heck yeah, count me in.
It's amazing. Actually, after I bought that, then I started looking up how I could get my hands on the Crimson Empire Saga hardcover that was published in 2012 because, I can't stop myself. But I have not bought it yet. But if you see a good deal on one, hey, shoot me a message in Discord. And I want to say thank you to our buddy Jacob the Spice Den over there in the chat for providing a link to the sale. And I want to thank our friend Taco Timothy for setting up those links for us. Get those affiliate. I always mess up that title. Utini affiliate links going. And if you click on those, we get a few cents to help keep the lights on. A little bit of a kickback there on those. And I did this like crazy redneck scheme at if you spent $25 through the Kindle store, then you got a $6 credit back. So if you actually merge your Amazon account and your Comixology account, and then you spent $25, you got $6 back, which then you could go and spend on more Legends comics. And yeah, there's gonna be a lot of Legends comics happening after I finish my semester of grad school next week. It's gonna be legendary, that's for sure. Well, one of the things that you can learn about, of course, in those Legends comics is the crazy amount of super weapons that we've got happening over in the Legends galaxy. Freddy, this was your idea for this episode. What gave you the feeling that you might want to talk about these technological terrors? Was it like this urge to blow up the planet after the coronavirus and the election? It's just like, all right, scrap it. Where's another Death Star? Yeah.
Well, there's one running theme in a lot of Legends books and a lot of Legends content is there has to be some sort of ultimate fear, right? And in most cases, that ultimate fear is a super weapon. And there's all different types, right? There's some that the Hut created, and I'll get to one of those. I don't even see that in your list, which is going to be interesting. And then of course we're going back to like 100,000 BBY, right? Like no one really knows who invented it and what the purpose of it was, and it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of history in Legends and super weapons, so it's curious stuff.
I love that the idea that before civilizations were even developed, people were already trying to blow each other up.
Exactly.
And in fact, going thing, even in canon, there's been a couple of new super weapons developed.
Love it.
There was even an arc of, I don't know if it was Dr. Aphra or the mainline Star Wars comic fairly recently, where like there was this whole lead where the rebels were developing this super weapon And then I don't remember totally, but I think like the end of the story was like there was no super weapon and it was all a gag. But like we bought it, we believed it. We were like, okay, yeah, of course there's another super weapon. There's always another
always one.
super weapon. And so, Freddie, let me ask you before we start running down the list here, what do you think is the allure of using a super weapon in a Star Wars story? You know, you mentioned there being an ultimate terror. Why do these authors keep coming back to this plot point?
You know, I've been trying to figure this out. What is it about super weapons in Star Wars? Why do they love it so much? One, I mean, it's kind of easy, right, to create something as fearsome as a super weapon, and you know, they look pretty cool. Like the Sun Crusher is just a floating, I don't know, ice cream cone with ultimate destruction and
indestructible ice cream cone. Sir.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna crack on you if you drop it.
Turrets and
Yeah.
Kit Duran and his haircut especially.
Yeah. So it's part of it, I think, comes from how can we create something that is going to terrorize a lot of people and is going to put, you know, it's going to put the rebellion or whoever's most likely the rebellion, right? For instance, how do we destroy this thing that's almost I guess indestructible, right? How do we destroy this thing that's almost indestructible that could literally just decimate an entire planet, planets, sun, you know, whatever it is, stars? How do we destroy this thing? And it you see, you know, you've got like the Bothan spies, you've got you know, R2D2 with his the plans and they're trying to figure out where the weak points are and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
right.
It leads to a lot of world building around how do we beat this thing.
Yeah. And then sometimes there's not a ton of world building, and that's what's funny.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, in The Force Awakens, Han says, there's got to be a way to blow it up, right? And so everybody's like, okay, nope, no plot there. We're just going to go blow it up. Fine. All right, here we go. Let's keep this ball rolling. And so that in and of itself was kind of funny because like we go into that movie having read all these books where there is some kind of a crazy plot involving how do we acquire the plans. And this time around, they were like, let's just go blow it up. Yeah, I'll just fly the Falcons just right onto the right to the planet with a janitor in my back pocket. That'll be all we need. Well, Freddie, you mentioned the fact that some of these are quite ancient. Why don't you start us off with the Starforge?
Yeah, Starforge. So Starforge started, I don't know if it started or invented or created. Yeah, so we've got a picture right there of Starforge. It was created 5,000 years before the formation of the Galactic Republic. So we're thinking, I think the what is it, the Rakata at the time created
That's a cheese,
this.
Freddie. You can't fool me.
The
You're talking about
Rakatas.
like the fish head people?
Yeah, with the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes over on their cheeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically they created this automated factory that will gather resources from the sun or the star that it's on. I forget what the star's name is. And it's just sucking up, I'm assuming, the gases, the helium, whatever it's sucking up. And it's
Sucking
just
up fire.
creating,
Yeah.
sucking up fire. It's creating, yeah, it has the ability to create an unlimited amount of battle droids, ships, starships, everything. So it's pretty terrifying, honestly. Imagine the thing just constantly creating, I guess, weapons of destruction. Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, I was gonna say this thing is almost sentient because of like how the Rakata. Man, I don't even
You're
know.
doing good. Yeah, just say Ricotta. I won't make fun of it anymore. I'm throwing you off your game.
There was cheese everywhere. But you know, they weren't that great. They were Force users and they were kind of corrupted. And because of that, the Starforge itself was a hub of the dark side. It just dark side energy. So
I don't know if I remember that. It might be 10 years since I've played KOTOR. I do appreciate about it that it's both like the what's the word I'm looking for? The MacGuffin of the game. Like you're trying to find these star maps so that you can get to the Starforge, but then it serves as like the central setting for the final confrontation of the game. And you infiltrate the Starforge, and then you fight the droids that are being cranked out by the Starforge, and then you can either join forces with the Starforge or, you know, run away from Malak. And the only way I could ever beat him was by like lobbing grenades over my shoulder and just running as fast as possible. Because if he gets in close, it's over, man. It's absolutely over. Yeah. It's like it's ancient and yet it's we got these rumors of this new KOTOR game around the corner, so
Yeah.
it might be making a comeback.
Yeah, I think if you have, for all those Star Wars timeline nerds out there, it's 30,000 BBY is when this thing was
Wow.
created.
Sounds right to me. You could just throw any number up there with the
Yeah.
thousands of BBY, and it's meaningless. I'm like, set before the Clone Wars? Yeah. So, Freddy, what did the Starforge blow up? Each one of these pretty much has like its main casualty. What planet did it destroy?
Oh man, I know this is in the show notes. I got rid of the show notes and I pull up Comixology. Whoops.
Oh. To my memory, maybe somebody in the chat can help us out. To my memory, this is one of the only super weapons we're talking about tonight that like didn't blow up a planet directly by shooting it to death, right?
Was it Terrace?
But what it does with Terrace is it creates the ships that Malik uses to bomb the tar out of Terrace, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it indirectly destroyed Terrace. I really love when they destroy Terrace. It's such a cool, because I hate Terrace. I just hate being stuck on that planet. It takes so long to get off Terrace. John Jackson Miller famously it took him so long to get off of Terrace that he never got past Dantooine. He was like, all right, yeah, this is a long game. But I was so frustrated with Terrace, and then Malik's like, you know what? I also hate Terrace. Blow it up, and there it goes. So each one of these, of course, has its own signature fatal flaw, right? There's always something wrong with these things. Obviously, Luke is able to, shoot the proton torpedo down the exhaust port of the Death Star, and Lando and Nia Num kind of just, fly up through the second Death Star laughing and having a good old time. What, though, Freddy, is the Starforge's fatal flaw?
Well, it's not really a weapon. It's a factory. It did have a defense mechanism, I believe, on the planet that was somewhere on the sun. There was like some sort of, I'm trying to remember. It was like a ship disruptor of sorts. It would basically like an ion cannon.
Is that the unknown world that's like in Bane?
Yeah, I think that one's it.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name.
Yeah.
So they're Temple of the Ancients. That's what they called it. So that was its only protection, right? And other than that, it was basically defenseless. I don't think there was any shields. I don't think there was any weapons.
Yeah, so, I like to consider its major fatal flaw Malik's arrogance, right?
Yeah,
Malik just really believed that it couldn't be destroyed, and Revan, we've already dealt with him. He's not much of a problem. We stole his girl. At that point, once he had turned Bastila over to the dark side, he was like, nothing you can do about it, man. And so out of all of these, some of these have more technological problems than others. But for this one, it's mostly, Revan is OP. And if you let Revan on board your ship and he wants to take it down, he's going to take it down because he's Revan. Am I right?
Yeah. And you even had I think Bastila Shan. She used battle meditation in the battle against it, I think, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. She sits down right there on it and does her thing. Yeah. The best force power ever, sitting down and using the force. Actually, we've got a Revan and Bastila Funko Pop coming out this next week, I think. So I'm excited about that. Really hoping that my pre-order has happened. I don't know. I think I pre-ordered it. I'd like to be surprised. So I hope. Who better to be surprised by than Bastila showing up on your front step? You know what I mean? Well, next up on the list is not from KOTOR 1, but it is, however, from KOTOR 2, and that is the Mass Shadow Generator. This, of course, was developed by the Exile. Mitra Surik is, the name that she's eventually given in the Revan novel. Sorry, this image isn't more high res. It's actually like really hard to get like a really good high res image from a original Xbox game, as it turns out. So this is not the Mass Shadow Generator. This is, in fact, Malachor 5 imploding with this green chaos energy because of the Mass Shadow Generator that was developed by Bayodur, the Zabrak friend technology guru of the Exile. The one who calls you General all through the game. He's like, "What's up, General? How are you, General? What a beautiful day, General." It's like, Bayodur, get back on the ship. I want to hang out with the Wookiee and the droid. Please leave me alone. Okay, General. But you can turn him into a Jedi. But before, he's got his own guilt of having developed the Mass Shadow Generator that was used against the Mandalorians. And at the end of the game, you have to go back to Malachor and face the destruction that that you've caused on this planet. Now, Meg, you famously have not played KOTOR 1, but have played KOTOR 2 multiple times. Is that right?
Yep, I have played it dozens of times. What? Don't ask.
Awesome.
We actually talked about it on Cafes. That'll come
Yeah,
out
yeah,
tomorrow.
that's
yeah. So yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. I think if it's out tomorrow, I've already listened to it. So I don't know how that happened, but I was there in the Zoom meeting all along. Meg, what do you think is the mass shadow generator's like defining feature compared to some of these other super weapons? Like it's because it's not like blowing up. It's not shooting anything, right?
Yeah.
It stands apart from some of these others. Meg, I warned you I was going to ask you about a couple of these.
did.
I said you had to be on your toes.
Definitely did.
Let's play a game where everybody takes a drink when I surprise Meg with a question she didn't know I was going to ask her. I'll take a drink of my cider that's now gotten cold. I'm sorry, Meg. We'll let you off the hook.
Well, no, you know what? I got it now.
Great.
You know, the thing about this weapon is that Beodor can like activate it, right? Or he can control it.
Yeah, with a remote, right?
Yeah,
He's got
with
like his little droid buddy.
remote thing. Oh man, I'm having like flashbacks. I need to play this game again. Anyway, you'll hear about it soon. I have a lot of games to play, but
I want to get another remote that'll follow me around in real life, like Beodor's remote.
that would be really annoying.
I mean, you know, I'm not coming to Illinois anytime soon, so it wouldn't annoy you.
Okay.
So my understanding of this is that it uses a planet's natural gravity well to like suck any ships or space stations that might be orbiting it down into the planet's core.
Right.
And the problem with that, of course, is yes, it ended the war, the Mandalorian War, but it also decimated this planet. And so one of the things that I think is not very often dealt with in Star Wars is like the ecological damage that these wars cause.
Yeah.
The fact that like, yeah, there are all these beautiful, wonderful planets in Star Wars. You got your sand planets and your ice planets and your green lightning planets, apparently. But the fact that like a lot of these places are decimated by this galactic conflict. And so Malachor 5 really is staring into the soul of just how ugly the Star Wars can get, don't you think?
Yeah. And you know what? There's a fun little note about this. In Star Wars Rebels, Ezra just wants to figure out a way to defeat the Inquisitors. And he goes to Yoda and talks with Yoda. I want to get rid of these people. How do I do it? And Yoda he tells him, go visit Malachor. I want you to go look at Malachor and meditate upon like what you've seen. And I think Ezra goes to Malachor and he just sees this dead planet with nothing on it. And it used to be, you know, let's just say very much like our Earth, into this pile of just rock. And that was basically Yoda saying like it was one of the Jedi's biggest mistakes. And that's what happens when you try to win at all costs.
Yeah, and Cheryl makes a good point that happens on Hanagar, the Nogri world, as well. So they deal with that in the Thrawn trilogy, kind of the ramifications of what the war does to some of these ecosystems. And hey, we just had Earth Day last week. Made the joke about Captain Planet. Take care of your world, right? Go get outside and pick up some trash off the streets and make the world a better place in the name of Legends, so that we don't end up looking like this. Okay, like this. Am I right? Now, next up on the list is something that is a little bit more explosive in a traditional way. So not something that's sucking gravity down into a planet, not something that's sucking up star energy in order to make ships, but, well, it is, however, untraditional in another, the Infant of Shah. This appears in Dark Horse comics that we talked about last week. And Zam Wessel, there are two one-shots that are like interrelated and interconnected. Jango Fett and Zam Wessel are like in competition with each other, and then they team up, and Jango Fett's actually a hero. And I'll give one slight small spoiler for this 20-year-old comic. It is the Legends death of Yariel Poof. Yariel Poof sacrifices his long neck in order to save Coruscant from this device exploding Coruscant from the underworld. You've got like there's like a Doug crime lord who enlists Jango to steal this thing, and very much like the Mandalorian, then he has to steal back the thing that he had first, been enlisted to steal in the first place. And so This is known as the Destroyer of Worlds. It's kind of an Indiana Jones-esque idol. If you are listening on audio, we have images of all these pulled up in the show on YouTube. You could, of course, Google them. We just pulled pretty much the first image off of Google Images because that's how we roll around here on Legends Look Back. But this one's really quirky, little goofy, very much an Indiana Jones-esque idol. Does this give you Indiana Jones vibes, Freddy?
It does. It does. And it's probably the only super weapon on the list that is smaller than a planet.
Yeah, I can fit in the palm of your hand, or whoever's clawed hand this is. Doesn't look like mine. There's some long black talons there. This, of course, was from like a primitive people, the Selot people. I'm not sure how to say that, but what it does is it serves as a receptacle of force energy that, when released, would emit a disturbance in the force great enough to rip a world apart. And so this, criminal syndicate is trying to blow up Coruscant for all of its corruption. And so its fatal flaw, however, is, as Freddy alluded to, you're not likely to blow this up with an exhaust port. I'd say its fatal flaw, it's not blown up in the story. It's just returned back to its rightful place, back with its mother. There's a bigger idol, the mother of Shaw. I'd say its fatal flaw is the fact that you could just easily stick it in a satchel, right? It's pretty easy to thieve. You stick this thing in a purse.
No. Where'd I put my infant of Shaw?
Where'd I put my super weapon? Anybody see my super weapon? Yeah. I guarantee you that if it was stolen by my 3-year-old, she would stick it in her backpack. That's where she sticks all my Power Rangers toys. Sometimes my Funko Pops are in there. I'm just like, yeah, have you seen Revan? She's like, no. Her hands are behind her back. Yeah, totally could do the same thing with this. Freddy, what is next on the list, though? Definitely more of a traditional super weapon, isn't it?
Yeah, this one is one of our favorites. We read about this recently in the Jedi Academy trilogy, and that is the Sun Crusher. I think in the audiobook you might have said Star Crusher, but yeah. Sun
yeah, there's
Crusher.
a mistake once in the audiobook. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got it right here on the screen. It's basically a ice cream cone with a radar dish and some lasers.
What's funny is it's actually depicted on the cover of one of the Jedi Academy books, but it's depicted differently. So there's actually a different ship that's not actually the Sun Crusher. They end up they describe a different design, and then a different design is used in other Legends material. I think that's just so early 90s Legends, isn't it? That they would put the wrong ship on the cover.
Yeah. We don't really know what this looks like. Just throw this one on there. Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, so we see the Sun Crusher in the Jedi Academy trilogy, and what is its defining feature, Jared? What do we know about this thing?
Well, Kip Duron can suck it up out of is it a sun or a gas cloud? Is it in Yavin, like the gas giant?
It was a gas giant. Yeah, I think it was a gas giant.
It's indestructible. Like, you can't blow it up. That's the thing. They're like, hey, the Death Star, they blew it up. Let's make one that won't blow up. And so it is, you could even have it with the high pressurized core of a gas giant still left it totally intact, and he could just hop in the cockpit. That might be its most defining feature. Maybe Kip Duron's Sean Hunter haircut is its most defining feature.
Sean Hunter, I love it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and of course, who made it? That's a good one. We read about her in Jedi Academy trilogy. She was actually an Imperial in the Maw installation by Kessel.
I think she made a couple on this list. Quizooks?
Yep. Yeah, she was definitely she did make a couple. I think the next one on the list is one of her inventions too, but she was basically a research scientist, weaponeer for the Imperial Navy.
And maybe most importantly, the only love interest of Wedge Antilles in Legends or canon, who first didn't already have a husband who was presumed dead and then turned out to be an Imperial sleeper agent. Yeah. Oh, Wedge. Man, we're going to have to get some therapy for Wedge, but also for Quizooks, because she's definitely scarred from the fact that the Imperials, brainwashed her, and she lost her memory after having created all this. But Sun Crusher, I've actually, Freddy, looked into building a custom Lego build of the Sun Crusher. I haven't pulled the trigger on it, but I'm thinking about it.
I thought you were going to say you're going to build a real Sun Crusher. I was like, okay, here we
go. No, not going to do that. But I got to build some shelves for my wife's plants first, but then maybe a Sun Crusher. In particular, I don't plan on blowing up any planets. You know who did though? Kip Duron, and he blew up Karita, the Imperial like training academy. Which, of course, this is the first few pages of Champions of the Force. F's in the chat for Kip's brother, who he kills with the Sun Crusher. Kind of on accident. He goes there, like, bluffs and tries to save his brother, but it's all Exar Kun's fault in the end, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. When in doubt, blame Exar Kun. And what do you think was the Sun Crusher's fatal flaw? Like, what was its big problem? It doesn't have an exhaust port you can blow up. How did they end up defeating the Sun Crusher?
Well, let's see. The Sun Crusher, they just threw it into a black hole, and that was it, right? It was piloted by a single person, and they just yeeted it into the black hole.
I love that, because that's also the exact same thing that happens to the next super weapon on the list, also from the Jedi Academy trilogy created. We're not going to spend as much time on this because it's a little cliche at this point that we were going to be talking about another Death Star. Not the first Death Star from A New Hope, not the second Death Star from Return of the Jedi, which famously, like, that wasn't George's plan A. To have another Death Star as plan A is actually some really cool Ralph McQuarrie artwork of the Bast Castle. So we're going to go to Vader's Legends Castle, like to Palpatine's throne. And so there's some really cool artwork there that you can find on that. Meg, do you have an image of the Death Star prototype we can show people? The thing with this is that it's actually just like the bare bones. They're like, let's just first focus on making the circle and then the super weapon. Yeah, make sure it's got the laser. Don't leave the laser out. You can leave out the hot tubs, but like make sure it can blow up planets. I've got one request for my Death Star. I better be able to blow up planets. And of course, they yeet it into a black hole in the end. Or maybe like it accidentally gets too close to the black hole, if I remember correctly. I had a concussion when I was reading those books. I probably
That's right.
Slogged through all those. Of course, it blew up one of Kessel's moons, so not a planet. Did blow up a moon. R.I.P. It's one of Kessel's moons. Which one? Doesn't matter. Blew it up. It's gone. And what else needs to be said about this? The third Death Star maybe is just a question. Will there ever be a fourth Death Star? That's the real question. Don't you think, Freddy?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one other important detail here. This is the funniest thing about this Death Star, other than the fact that it exists at all, is the fact that it missed the only shot it ever took. And it comes full circle back to Wayne Gretzky. The only time it ever fired its laser was a miss. And if that isn't as representative of the Jedi Academy trilogy, I don't know what is. That's so perfect, isn't it? Freddy, take us back in the past a little bit, back to the old school Marvel comics for this. This is actually a super weapon named after somebody who was a big fan of super weapons.
Yeah, he died on one. But it's it's the Tarkin, and it appears in Marvel's Star Wars number 52 to take the Tarkin. And it if you look at some pictures, it almost looks like I don't even know how to describe it. Like, you've seen those massagers that look like a gun. You just kind of point it towards whatever. Yeah, it looks like one of those.
Yeah. For those deep tissue massages.
Exactly.
Yeah. It can rub your back or blow up your homeworld.
Exactly. Either one, whichever one you want. So, Jared, defining feature.
I tried to type, there's a super weapon in the chat, and my phone just auto-corrected it to, there's a supermarket from that story. Come on, get with the show here, Siri. The Tarkin's most defining feature, and in fact, I was doing some research on this. Some people consider it the best issue of the old school mainline Marvel comic. To take the Tarkin, it's issue 52. This one, the whole joke about it, like, it's the entire purpose of building it in the story. I went back and read it in preparation for the show. There's a lot of dialogue about the fact that, like, hey, they were able to blow up the Death Star, so now let's build a super weapon that they can't blow up. Yeah. And they're like, over and over and over in the story, they're like, they're not going to blow this one up, right? And you're like, nope, totally can't blow it up. Not
figure this one out.
Not this time. They're like, good, ship it. So it's like, it's very explicitly stated in this story, no thermal exhaust ports.
Yeah.
This one comes from an Imperial designer who builds a couple on this list. It's kind of a competition in Legends between Imperial engineer Bevel Limelisk, which is just such a great Legends name, and Quizooks for who builds the most super weapons. It's like they were having a hot dog eating contest, but instead of a hot dog eating contest, it was a super weapon building contest. Either they're both as horrific, don't you think? But Bevel Limelisk makes this. It blows up the planet 8 and 2. And it's fatal flaw, Freddy.
There was a programming in the super weapon to fire upon itself for some reason.
Kind of should disable that, don't you think?
Yeah, you should probably just not even write that in the code.
I don't know much about coding, but I know enough to say like probably shouldn't have put that one in there. And that's what the rebels do. They find that programming that makes it shoot itself. It fires on itself. How is that even possible? I'm looking at the design on this thing. How could it possibly shoot itself? But it did. Rest in peace to the Tarkin. And it's actually, quite a good issue for that mainline Marvel run. So it's got a gorgeous cover. It's like all gold, which is cool.
Yeah.
Would make a great collectible piece for sure. Now, Freddie, I'm excited about the next couple. And that is, of course, because they come from one of my all-time favorite Legends stories, Dark Empire. We've talked about these at length. We're not going to go into too much detail. First, from Dark Empire are the World Devastators. They are the super weapon of the first Dark Empire story. They appear in the Rogue Squadron video game, in fact, which I'm excited to play at some point. I've got it. I've never finished it. One of these days, I might just do it. They made this one in the MAW installation. As far as I understand, I don't know if it's stated in the story or not, because I'm going to have to reread Dark Empire again. If I have to, I might, just for the sake of research. Freddie, do you remember what it blew up in the story?
Dak, right? That was the homeworld of the Mon Cal. It devastated, but I don't think it blew up. I can't.
Yeah. So it's a technicality. The good news for Dak is it's a water planet. So how much water did this thing have to suck up? It's like, if I tried to vacuum up water, I don't think that would go very well for my vacuum. But I know that the Mon Cals are like super distressed in the story, and they call Luke on their comm links, and they're like, "You got to get these things out of here." And Luke's like, "Sorry, I'm a bad guy now." Wink, wink. So
actually, I'm the one that told him to go there.
That's right. But then, thankfully, though, Luke had, he had a change of heart. He had another plan in the works. Luke not only is the one who devastates Mon Cal, who devastates Dak, but he also is the one to disable the super weapon. He disables the World Devastators by having the central droid brain reprogram them once again to turn on each other. So they all start sucking up each other with their super weapon vacuum cleaners. And man, I freaking love these things. They're like a combination of Jawa sand crawlers and AT-ATs and Star Destroyers and vacuum cleaners, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. And the whole purpose of those was to suck up material to create weapons of destruction similar to Starforge.
Yeah, I don't know if we said that, but as you can tell, there tends to be a little bit of overlap with these. You've got some similarity between the Sun Crusher in canon. No, what do we call that thing? Starkiller Base in canon with the Starforge, which is a little similar to this one. So, we're picking and choosing here, but we can recycle good ideas. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Lord knows I've preached the same sermon 2 or 3 times here and there, sometimes in the same church. I just want to see if they notice. And they don't, which is fun. All right. Next up on the list is from later on in the Dark Empire series. And that is one that was really funny, especially for me as just like a fan and as a listener, to listen to the Cosmic Force crew talk about one of their recent shows. It's especially funny if Jacob's still with us here in the chat. Very funny to hear Jacob try to describe the Galaxy Gun on that podcast. As somebody who had just read Dark Empire, he's like, well, it's like a big rifle in space that shoots hyperspace capable missiles across the galaxy.
Yep.
So here's the best part about this, Freddie. The image we've got here on the screen, if you're listening on audio, shows a panel of the Galaxy Gun in Dark Empire. The Galaxy Gun is depicted as so long in Dark Empire that it never actually fits on a single panel. There's not a picture of the Galaxy Gun in one frame. It's always shown as extending beyond the frame.
Yeah.
So we can't even fit it onto the screen here. Not because we had to crop the image, but because there is no image in Dark Empire 2 or 3 of the Galaxy Gun in its entirety. Isn't that amazing? I like that they're like, you know what we should have? a longer super weapon. Nope, longer. Make it longer. Stretch it out a little bit. Yeah. Double the length and double it again. Now shoot it at the rebels. Nailed it. All right. Wait, they weren't on the planet? I told you to make sure they were on the planet. That's the whole point. And, all right, find another planet. And then, of course, what happens to it after it blows up Pinnacle Base is, well, R2-D2 reprograms it to crash into a Star Destroyer. No, he reprograms a Star Destroyer to crash into it.
Yeah.
Freddy, how many Imperial ships and super weapons are destroyed because a Star Destroyer crashes into them?
Yeah, I think we should, the big hero here is how many super weapons has R2-D2 destroyed? I think that's the big one.
He's the MVP of super weapon destruction. Him and the weapons themselves that destroy themselves on accident. Somebody should put some bumper rails up around the edges on Star Destroyers just in case. I mean, you think they learn their lesson? If they can do it at the bowling alley, surely you can do it on your ship design fleet academy, whatever you call those places. Where do they build the ships? The Star Destroyers? There's a planet. It's getting late over here on the East Coast.
Man, you're making me
trilogy.
making me run through it. Hold on.
It's the end of the first Thrawn book, and there's the shipyards. Kuat? Is that a place?
Kuat Drives, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Shoot Kuat. Sounds right. Meg, you are next on the list for the next super weapon. Tell us about the DARKSABER.
Oh, it's the DARKSABER. It's not that DARKSABER though. It's this one.
Oh wait, no, wait, yeah, Meg. We wanted to include that image for you because you are. Are you the biggest fan of the DARKSABER in all of Star Wars fandom?
Sure.
Yeah,
Maybe.
there we go. Meg gets that award.
Yeah.
If R2 gets the award for killer of super weapons, all right. No. It's funny to me that they have. It's funny to me that there's two characters named Rey that were introduced in canon in the first year of canon. You got Rey Palpatine and Rey Sloane, both introduced right there right off the bat. In the same way, we got two different things called the DARKSABER. Well, in Legends, we got the OG DARKSABER, and it's this thing. And Freddy, I've got to admit, it's been 20 years since I've read the book DARKSABER by Kevin J. Anderson, but I'm looking forward to a reread. Meg, you are up. Tell us about this DARKSABER. I almost called it Darth Saber. That's a different super weapon for a different day.
Yeah, so it's appeared in the book, so named DARKSABER. It's basically I'm just reading off, so correct me if I am getting things wrong, but
don't tell him that. Just make it sound good.
It's basically it's just the laser part of the Death Star, basically.
Yeah.
So
They were like, who needs all that infrastructure?
It's just that one part. So kind of like the what is it called? The cannon thing that they have in The Last Jedi.
There's a lot of Legends fans who have made that comparison, and they're like, it's just the DARKSABER. They just stuck right there in the salt, and they're like, blow up the base. And then Finn is like, you know what? I'm gonna drive right into it. That's one thing about super lasers. Probably shouldn't fly right into the laser part.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Who made this one, Meg?
Oh, a name that I should try to pronounce.
Durga.
But Durga.
Durga the Hutt. Now, Freddy, you mentioned that there's a Hutt who made a super weapon, and is this the one you're talking about?
No, this is actually it's not even on the list, which is great. But there's
You've got multiple Hutts making multiple super weapons.
Yeah, back during the Hutt Wars,
Jabba's just eating snacks, and some Hutts are out there making super weapons.
Yeah, there was I don't want to take the focus away from this amazing DARKSABER, but yeah, the Hutts created a thing. It's basically a railgun that shoots. If I'm not mistaken, it shoots asteroids at light speed, and it was called the Planechanga or something like that.
Look it up and tell us what story it's from while Meg tells us a little bit more about the DARKSABER. Meg, I ruined it. I meant to say, what did the DARKSABER blow up? This is kind of spoilery for the book DARKSABER. So if you're 30 years late on this book like I am.
Oh man, guys, I'm so bad at pronouncing.
You got it. It's a famous rebel general.
Rest in peace.
I can't do it.
Crix
It's not
Maydean.
that hard. Yeah, Crix Maydean, General Maydean, the Darksaber. I actually need to reread the book. I think according to the Wook article I was reading, that Crix Maydean was killed by Durga, but she was angsty. They're hermaphroditic, so they. Get my pronouns right on my huts, guys. Sorry. Um, Durga kills Crix Maydean, but it's about the Darksaber, and in the book called Darksaber, and I'd like to imagine that it was with the other Darksaber, just straight up stabbed by a hut. And this one in particular was destroyed in the book, the same book in which it originates. Megan, what happened to the Darksaber? And I don't mean it was stolen by Bo-Katan. I mean, what actually happened?
Well, because this weapon doesn't have any shields, it was unfortunately crushed by asteroids.
Yeah,
Crushed by asteroids. Yeah,
I think they were trying to retreat, right? They were trying to retreat into some asteroid belt to hide or to get away from whatever was going on, and they just got smushed.
That sounds right. I haven't read this book since I was like 10, so it's due for a reread for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I liked it when they were saying like, we don't need all the infrastructure of the Death Star. We just need the laser part. They forgot like you actually need shields, because if there's one thing we know about Rebels is they love blowing up super weapons. Freddy, did you find the planet Changa? What story is it from?
So it's actually from the Essential, what is it? The Essential Guide to Warfare.
Oh, yeah, by Jason Fry.
Exactly, yeah. And they're going over the whole history of the Hutt Wars and whatnot. And it's a railgun that shoots asteroids at intense velocities that literally will crack an entire planet open.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw that there were some super weapons that were just in that book, but they didn't make my top 10 list.
Yeah.
So finally on the list is one of the most important super weapons in all of Legends, might get the most references just over and over and over, keeps coming back like Palpatine, keeps resurrecting just over and over and over, keeps coming back, is Centerpoint Station. Centerpoint Station first occurs in the Corellian trilogy. And man, is that thing phallic. It appears in the Corellian trilogy. It comes up again in New Jedi Order Agents of Chaos 2 Eclipse, because you gotta love the New Jedi Order for its long titles. It also comes back again in Legacy of the Force in 3 titles in that series. Keeps coming back: Betrayal, Exile, and Fury. It's got this weird relationship with Anakin Solo. If I remember correctly, like Anakin Solo has a special alien bond with this thing.
What?
I think he can talk to it, and maybe it can talk to him. It is a little odd. It is a little odd, just like its history. Freddy, if I remember correctly, this thing, it was created by the Bud people. It was created by the mind controlling Kaliks, right? The Kiliks.
Man.
How do you pronounce it? Kaliks.
Yeah,
Kiliks?
Kiliks. Yeah, this one's even older than Starforge. Starforge was what, 30,000 BBY. This one's 100,000 BBY. So this one's really old.
And so it comes up. Troy Dennings got his whole Dark Nest trilogy. I was just talking about these a couple of days ago. Man, I've talked about these books a lot this week. Some Legends books. He writes the story of these people, and they've got the hive mind. So imagine how effectively your organization could work if you all shared a hive mind. Yeah. You thought you didn't like your coworkers, then wait till you share a hive mind with them. In particular, this helped organize the 5 planets in the Corellian system. So it put them in place by using its massive tractor beam. It generates huge amounts of nuclear, magnetic, electric, and hyperspace power, because Legends. And it's basically a massive hyperspace tractor beam, which I think is really cool and different from some of the other planets on the list. What about you, Freddy?
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm almost positive Centerpoint Station, if I'm not mistaken, you can see it in Star Wars Galaxies when you're in space on Corellia, because that's the system it's in. And you've got Corellia, Silonia, Drawl, Talus.
You got them memorized, Freddy? Look at you.
Yeah. And I think the other one is Tralis or something. I forget. It's
one of them had
Silonia.
Did you say Silonia?
Yeah, Silonia.
Okay, because that's got the otter people, the one that Han punches in the face. I love that image so much.
Yeah. So it's Centerpoint Station. Basically, the theory, if you look at, I forget where I read it, but the theory was that they were trying to figure out how all of these 5 planets were just so perfectly placed around the same orbit and Center Point Station is like right there. So yeah, that's where everything starts.
Yeah, that's the theory. It's we've got um, the belief that I'm not sure if I subscribe to it because I'm a skeptic about a lot of things that that our world, that the Earth, I almost called the Earth the U.S. That's not true. That the Earth was originally Pangea, right? We had this one continent that was divided up via big earthquakes or something. I obviously did great in science class as a conservative Christian. um, was paying a lot of attention for sure. But I like the idea that like Star Wars has some myths about that too. But
Mhm.
this time around, it was a massive hyperspace tractor beam that reorganized the planets in this system. So instead of continents dividing, it was planets being pulled closer together. So kind of a fun remix on what might have even happened in our own world, which is cool. In the stories, this one actually blows up a lot of things.
Yeah.
It creates quite a bit of havoc along the way. At one point, Han Solo's evil cousin, Thraken Sal Solo, we love Thraken here on this show, especially when he's in the thrift store. And at one point, I forget exactly what book it is, he blows up a Hapen flotilla with these.
Accident, right? Or
the Hapens show up to help, and then it's this big mistake. And it's kind of sickening, honestly. At one point, I think it actually even blows up much of the Maw cluster as well. So it's one of the things they did really well in Legends was like those callbacks to some of those OG stories. So it blows up both the Hapens and the Maws. I would say, and the Maw cluster, one of the more destructive super weapons on this list, don't you think?
I think so. I think it tops. If you look at a lot of YouTube videos of like super weapons in Star Wars, usually Center Point Station is always like number one for some reason. I mean, it's crazy.
Really? Okay.
It's a crazy machine if you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. And what's cool, of course, is if you're reading Legends, this is probably maybe more than any else in the rest of this list. Correct me if you think I'm wrong here, Freddie. I think this one might be the most consequential to the overall story of Legends.
I think so. I would say so. I could see that.
Ultimately, I don't remember exactly what happened to it, other than the fact that like it definitely eventually got off the rails because it had this weird relationship with Anakin Solo. I think at one point the computer droid brain even thought that it was Anakin Solo. That sounds right to me.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, what, Meg? Does that sound weird to you? Now you're gonna think this sounds weird at this point in the show?
Hey, so Center Point Station has a thing for me, and I'm really just trying to like ghost it.
What do I do? I love that. Yeah, and I think they end up reasoning with the droid brain that controls it into parting ways with the alter ego of Anakin Solo. Yeah, something like
weird.
that. Yeah. So let us know in the chat. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Let us know in the Discord. Legends Lookback Twitter. There's all kinds of different ways to interact with us. Which of these was the best? Which of these was the worst? Which is a Legend super weapon that we left off the list and we should have talked about. Now, we'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Freddie, which of these is the top of the list and which is the bottom of the list for you personally? Just like style points or explosive capabilities or just how much fun we had talking about it tonight, which story it came from that you enjoyed the most reading. There's you create your own criteria. What's your favorite and what's the worst?
I really like Starforge, honestly. I feel like Starforge has such a rich history in Star Wars. You see it in Rebels. You see it in Knights of the Old Republic, right? You see it in books. It's all over the place. It's permeated, I guess pre-Disney. I guess post. I'm not sure, but it's hard to tell. But the fact that it just has this of course Revan, Malik, Bastilla, it's there's a lot of history there and a lot of big names and people, and it's a curious little weapon if you ask me. Little, not little.
The Starforge. I have a strong connection to it because I've played KOTOR so many times. Like I've probably played through complete playthroughs, maybe 10, could be 12 times. It's hard not to. I think it's on sale right now, in fact, for $5 for the May the 4th sale. So you've got no excuse not to hop on there and play it, other than your excuse might be that you've got like 200 Legends comics to read because those are also on sale. That's the only valid excuse, unless you get blown up by a super weapon. That's also a valid excuse. So that was your...
By the way, I meant Mass Shadow Generator was in Rebels, but
Oh yeah,
either way, Starforge, it still permeates.
I was just going with it, Freddy.
Yeah.
I just trusted that you knew what you were talking about. Do you have a least favorite?
Honestly, the Infant of Shaw is not my favorite. The story behind it is cool, but it just seems like such a little dinky thing that I didn't take it as seriously.
That's what makes it cool.
I guess.
I mean,
prefer the
it's definitely
DARKSABER.
if you're like gonna take your friend, who comes to visit, and you're gonna show them around the place, show them the coolest things in the neighborhood. You're probably, want to show them the massive galaxy gun that you've got hanging up on the wall, as opposed to the Infant of Shaw. Yeah, you probably will get killed by the locals if you want to even get there in the first place, unless you're wearing your Mandalorian armor. That's fair. That's fair. Meg, I'm going to ask you too. I'm going to give you a warning while I tell everybody what my favorite and least favorite is. At the moment, my least favorite is the DARKSABER, only probably because it's been so long since I've read it and I'm not as familiar with it. And I find it kind of funny that it's just the canon, so it's like the Death Star Light. I'm going to say my favorite is the World Devastators. I love those from Dark Empire. I mean, big surprise. I'm going to say Dark Empire. I love the threat that they pose. And there's an image. Let's see if I can find it. I'll put it in the Discord of Luke with his hand, like spectral Luke, looking like a Scooby-Doo villain with his hand hovering over this fleet of Imperial ships and World Devastators. And he's in command of them. And the rebels are realizing that Luke Skywalker is the new Vader, commanding these things. And then in the end, Luke is the one who ends up defeating them. I love that as a plot point. I love the design on them too. They're so they look like an original Star Wars ship. They're impractical in like that AT-AT kind of way. They're very boxy. They look rustic in a kind of aged universe way. How about you, Meg? Favorite and the least favorite out of all of these we've talked about tonight?
I'll start with my least favorite, which is probably the galaxy gun. I just think at some point, like, you gotta stop. Like, it's too much. It's too extra. It's, you know what? No, I'm good. I don't need it.
That is one thing about Dark Empire too, is it's extra. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Oh yeah.
And my favorite, just because I have to say the DARKSABER. I have to say it. I'm obligated. It's not the same DARKSABER as the one that we all know and love, but it's there with the same name. There's a whole book called DARKSABER.
That's right.
So that's cool. Yeah.
Meg, wouldn't it be cool if we got a new book just titled DARKSABER that is canon, that's about the DARKSABER, like from Maul and Bo-Katan and whoever else, the Mandalorian. But it's just got the same name. I love it when Star Wars does that. You've got Empire's End, it's both canon and Legends. Get The Last Jedi. It's the book I'm reading right now. There's a movie called The Last Jedi. Ever heard of it? All right. So did you? Yeah, you gave your least favorite and your favorite. Let us know in the chat if you have a preference. Skooma Joe says he loves the World Devastators. All right. High five through the force, Skooma Joe. Me too. How about this one, Freddy? As we wrap up the show, one last question: design your own super weapon.
Okay.
And tell me, what does it do? What do you blow up with it? And what is its fatal flaw?
Okay, all right, ready? So it's going to be a ship that transforms, right? So the engines come out from the bottom, come out at a 90-degree angle, maybe turn into feet. It's like a transformer, right? Then it opens up, and what do you know? It's made with a vacuum cleaner, sucking all the air up from the planet. Spaceballs.
Like the Jetsons? Oh, okay, yeah, Spaceballs. That's great.
Yeah, let's just go with that. I'm cool with it.
I don't know if I've ever made it all the way through Spaceballs. I've definitely seen a bunch of parts of Spaceballs a lot. Maybe that's what I should do for Star Wars Day. There we go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch Spaceballs from start to finish. And when my wife leaves me, I will give her your phone number so that, Freddie, you can apologize to her for the fact that you gave me this idea. Meg, do you have your own super weapon you want to pitch to us?
DARKSABER.
DARKSABER, but really, really
the size
big.
of the galaxy gun.
Yeah.
But really long. What What do you blow up with? What do you stab with your Darksaber? Your very, very impractically long Darksaber, Meg.
A planet I don't like. I don't know. I'm trying to think of
A cup full of noodles.
Taurus, sure.
Taurus. All right, great. You said Taurus. Oh, you sound so fancy.
I'm sorry. Are you gonna make fun of me for the way I pronounce things?
No, I was just surprised is what it was. All right, I've been sitting here thinking about what mine would be, and I'm just sitting here staring at my new Thrawn action figure's glowing eyes. So I'm gonna say that my super weapon is just it's just like a Death Star, but it's big and red. We call it the Eye of Thrawn. And it blows up whatever planets have the worst art. All right. Whoever is the least artistic, they get the axe. They get the Eye of Thrawn. Isn't there a book called The Eye of Thrawn? There's a book. What is it? Hand of Thrawn. The Hand of Thrawn. That's a thing. All right, I was close. Eyes, hands, the toes.
That's a cool weapon, man. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna go with something else. And then I was looking at Thrawn, and he wouldn't stop looking at me with those red eyes, man. All right. Well, this has been fun. Let us know what your ideas are. We would love to hear your ideas. We've got one here in the chat. Spiced In Jacob says that Meg shoots a copy of Heir to the Jedi. Okay, so that's a good one too. Not mine though. That sucker's hard to get. Those hardcovers of Heir to the Jedi are rare. Ooh, keep your super weapon off of my copy, please. Well, on our next episode, it is going to be a lot less ridiculous, a lot more meaningful and thoughtful, because we are going to have our friend Cheryl Bell joining us for the next 2 episodes for our 2-part roundtable on Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn. Could not be more excited for us to be talking about that. Just recently listened to Cheryl's appearances on Conja Book Club, talking about Heir to the Empire, and she's really collecting these Thrawn book, these Timothy Zahn book appearances in her gauntlet-like Infinity Stones, isn't she, at this point? So excited to have her on. Really looking forward to that. And, of course, we want to announce the winner of our giveaway. If you type the word Legends in the chat tonight, you have been entered into a giveaway to win one Legends Omnibus on Comixology of your choosing. If you... we will, what's the right way? We've never done a giveaway like this before. Meg, you're a producer. Help me out here. What do you think? Can we message each other on YouTube? Is there a way to private message?
Slide in those DMs.
Yeah,
there we go. Do it on Twitter. Go to our Twitter.
Yeah, go to our Twitter
and DM Legends Lookback on Twitter that you won the giveaway, and we will get you that within the next 48 hours. Yep. And probably. All right, and so we're going to hit you while that sale is still active through May the 6th. We'll spend up to $1.99. All right, so that's the limit. That's the stipulation on the sale. If you type the word Legends, we've got a handful of entries here. Let's roll the dice on this. And our giveaway winner tonight is Nia Lewis. So congratulations on that. You have won a Legends comic. So, hey, now we'll talk about what that's going to be. If there's a way to send you that, we'll figure it out. I'm sure it's got to be easier.
Send it through the Galaxy gun.
The interwebs.
We'll shoot the hyperspace missile.
So good. Thanks for being here with us live in the chat. If you want to do more live giveaways like this, let us know. Not that difficult to do. I say as I scrambled to figure it out. That does it for this week. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for watching Legends Look Back or listening. Hey, if you are, of course, listening on audio, we're glad to have you there as well. If you are on an audio platform, though, it would be helpful if you left us a review. Let us know what you think, as long as it's positive review. All right, keep it good. Keep it good. Keep it kind. Be generous. And, of course, we'd love to help other people find the show. If you've enjoyed it, I'm sure others would as well. We want to say thank you to our incredible patrons for their support and helping us make this show, and we are glad you are along for the ride. Special thank you specifically to Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Sally and Chris Eilerson, and you know him and love him, Freddie C. on our Alliance High Command. Want your thoughts read on the show? Email us at legendslookback@utini.com. Send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. Leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. Or something else. Where am I? Here we go. Find us on Twitter at Legends Lookback or at Jared Q Mays. Freddy is,
At Wake Up Freddy.
or you can find Meg at.
Meg Dowell.
Excellent. If you're looking to buy some of these books, some of these amazing books like DARKSABER that we've talked about tonight, and you want to help support the show, you go on over to utini.com, click the Amazon link in the profile. Or, of course, if you've read these and you want to let us know what you think, leave us a review. Remember, of course, whether you're buying books, collecting books, reading books, or listening to us podcast about books, remember, whatever you do, remember to keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. Thanks for joining us this week. May the force be with you.